We want to take a closer look at the latest developments involving Ukraine, Russia, and more sanctions. Joining us here in the studio is Mihaela Carstei. She's acting director of the Energy and Environment Program at the Atlantic Council. Welcome back to the show.
Thanks for having me.
You know, you were here about a month ago, and at that time, you didn't think that the current Western sanctions against Russia were enough. And now there's word of possible new sanctions. So do you think they could be enough this time around?
No, and let me say why. The sanctions process is a multi-stage, multi-step process. Obviously, we need to push the ball a bit further and see if we see any results from the Russians. But unless we have sweeping multi-sectoral sanctions, which the Europeans are not yet there in accepting, I don't think we're really going to see meaningful change.
Well, what do you think Russia's reaction would be to, possible new sanctions? Because we had the U.S. Secretary of State, John Kerry, basically putting it out there, warning that this could happen.
Yes.
What would be Russia's next step?
I believe that Russia will not change its current path. What they're going to do with the new sanctions or the threat of additional sanctions is just use it to boost their own internal rhetoric and especially the view that Western influence is what's shaping the events in Ukraine.
But do you think the sanctions that were already set before are starting to be felt a little bit? Because, you know, we just had today, Russia increased its interest rates again. The ruble took another hit. The economy there, it seems to be taking some sort of pressure. So I want you to address that and then get you to talk about whether that the current state of the economy there affects everybody.
Yes, the current state of the economy, it obviously affects everyone in Russia, and all the Russians are going to suffer from the sanctions. However, the big question is that enough to change Mr. Putin's behavior? We've also seen earlier this week a new focus from Russia and Gazprom in general to close a deal with China, really understanding and preparing for additional sanctions from the West.
What about the fact, it could affect people in Russia, but what about all around the world, and especially Russia's neighbors? I mean, the economy does have to affect what's happening.
Yes, and it depends on how much further we have to go with sanctions. It could affect us here at home quite dramatically, because think of all the oil exports that come out of Russia. The oil markets are global markets. Not just the region around Russia is going to suffer. Globally, we're going to feel the pain and the price spikes and the instability, the economic instability. The question we have to ask ourselves, and the question that all of the foreign policymakers right now are asking themselves, is what's more valuable to us right now? Is the economy something we really can't take a hit on? Or is preserving the integrity of Ukraine more important?
Is there, do you think, another solution to de-escalate the situation in Ukraine that doesn't involve sanctions?
It's hard to say, and really it will depend on Russia's next step. If Russia makes an overt play and you see Russian troops entering eastern Ukraine, that's definitely going to clarify things, and it will result in sanctions. However, if we see this prolonged uncertainty in the situation, is Russia going to move in Ukraine, or will Transnistria be the next target? I don't see anything that could de-escalate the current situation if that's going to be the path that Mr. Putin is going to take.
And you had the U.S. president having a conversation with some of his EU counterparts. What do you think it would take for the EU to come to some sort of concrete decision on where to move next, or what to do?
I think the fastest path to reach a decision, especially for the EU, would be to see another move from Russia, such as troops in Ukraine. It's going to be very, very hard because of the economic interdependencies that everyone is talking about for the EU to have a consolidated position. We already see individual member countries encouraging sanctions, but at the same time petitioning Brussels not to affect the sector that's closer to their national interest.
All right, Mihaela Carstei, we appreciate your time. Thanks for joining us this evening.
Thanks for having me.